Well, hey everybody. Today we are talking about Captain America. And I'm drinking water because it is July 3rd and it's extremely hot. So happy 4th of July, even though this won't be released on the 4th of July. A happy 4th of July anyway. And it's extremely hot in this house because my air conditioning just isn't keeping up with how hot it is outside. So join me for this review and let's have some fun. We begin in the middle of the polar ice caps where we see a couple of people who have found something strange. And then immediately we flash back to Norway in the middle of World War II, which is a trope that's very clearly happening because Thor did the exact same thing. We start in present day and then immediately flash back to the origin story. I don't get that because we're not learning anything in the beginning with the modern day scene. We might as well just start at the flashback. I don't get it. But apparently somebody felt that was necessary. There's this evil guy who is basically the face of Hydra. We come to find out that he is actually the Red Skull. And then they come in, they infiltrate this church, they kill a priest, and they find like a crystal cube. But then they smash it. We see that same crystal at the end even after it's been smashed. So I don't understand what happened with it. If you have any kind of information about that and you want to enlighten me with these comics and what actually happens with some of these things I don't understand, then please do that. Please write something in the comments. Let me know how stupid I am. Same thing with Thor, because Thor had a couple confusing things. You can watch the video that I have on Thor. I'll link it up here right now. Then we open on a bunch of naked guys who are waiting for their physical to get into the army. They're all relatively beefy, except for one of them, which is there's too many Chris's, which is Chris Evans, who is playing Steve Rogers. And he is extremely skinny. He gets together with his friend and they go to Exposition Tomorrow, which is clearly not supposed to be the New York's World Fair. And we see Howard Stark, who is clearly not supposed to be either Walt Disney or Steve Jobs. Then we flash sideways to see Evil German and Igor finding some sort of new technological breakthrough that's going to change the world. Then we move back. Steve Rogers has been allowed into the military because of this German guy who sees potential, that even though Steve Rogers is too skinny, he does have a lot of heart, and he would be someone that would be self-sacrificial enough to have an experiment done on him. We flash sideways again. We see Hugo Weaving. He's the Red Skull. Hugo Weaving is he has a face that even a mother can't love. I was kind of impressed by the effect that they did for Steve Rogers. I make it a point not to do research. This is just my initial thoughts on the movies. Steve Rogers' body, I think, is played by another character. And then you have Steve Rogers' head being played by Chris Evans, I think, which even that's pretty impressive. But there are times when his body kind of gets a little bit bigger, and there are times when his face, like his chin or his nose or his forehead, they'll get bigger or smaller based on the way he's looking. It's very subtle, but you can find it every once in a while. And obviously, the effect is incredible, but you do see those discrepancies every once in a while. They take him to a lab, and they put him in this machine. When he comes out of the machine, actually I thought it was really hilarious because they have this like really heartfelt, cheesy music that plays. It's the climax of some love movie, but it ends up being just him shirtless in the middle of this machine. It seemed really hilarious to me. It's about the technology, obviously. It's about how amazing this technology is that they can do this, but there was something that seemed kind of goofy to me about it. As soon as Steve Rogers comes out of the machine, there's a guy who has a bomb. Captain America runs after that guy. He ends up finding him, killing him, and immediately Captain America is just basically used as a propaganda machine. He ends up going to a lot of different states, and then he ends up going on a military tour. I think it's like 1 out of 7 of them or something like that has been captured. So basically he's trying to cheer up these troops after all of their buddies have been captured, and he's just kind of making a mockery of what they are. He ends up trying to infiltrate Hydra, and he finds the guys, he releases them. After he releases them and he makes his final objective, there's still a lot of additional fighting that ends up happening for a long time. And it always ends up feeling like padding to me. I love Broadway shows, I love musicals, but I don't love it when in Oklahoma they have an additional dance scene that doesn't explain anything to you. Fighting choreography is the same thing to me in that regard. Captain America finally gets back with Agent Carter, who I haven't even explained yet. One thing I do really like about Agent Carter is there's this guy who's very, very misogynist at the kind of toward the beginning of the movie. He says like, I have some moves that you'd like to see, I'm sure. And she just like punches his lights out. That part is very funny. Toward the end, she and Steve Rogers have kind of had a forced romance to some degree. And she ends up kissing him right before he goes and sacrifices his life. I just have to wonder, how does Captain America come back to life? Obviously, I have no idea how he's going to do that. And I discovered too that the lyrics of the songs were made by Alan Menken, who made the lyrics to the songs for lots of movies like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid. He wrote the words to those. So I love that with this too. I thought that was just a fun little side note. This movie overall was a superhero movie that I liked better than several of them. However, I didn't like it as much as Thor. I think Thor is kind of the turning point where it kind of started to get a bit more lighthearted, but Captain America was still on that trend of the dark, gritty years after 9/11. This movie was a lot more fun at certain points, but it still seems to have a lot of just very serious, dark themes that aren't counterbalanced by having some humor placed at strategic points.
My camera ran out of batteries, so overall this is one of my favorite movies so far of the Marvel canon. But I'm excited to watch, in particular, the Avengers. We'll see what I think about that coming up soon. And we'll see how this lighthearted nature kind of affects the movies that are coming up. Because I think I may like those quite a bit more also. Thank you guys for following along with this series. I will look forward to getting some more movies out there for you guys. And right now, please like, subscribe, comment, interact with me, and I'll look forward to talking with you in the comments. You have a great day. Bye.